All right, folks, so much to talk about in this update. We are talking about the stablecoin wars, the Federal Reserve interest rate decision, what the markets are doing now, what we can expect later on. Right now, I got the green light behind me because the markets are back up, only an hour away from the Fed interest rate decision. For our second update of the day, I might be turning that backlight to red. We'll see what happens. Now, let's take a look at it here, folks. This is the front page of Market Watch, what the stock bond markets would find surprising from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. So the markets are predicting no interest rate increase or decrease. Another pause is what's being expected. So if we do get an interest rate cut, the market would then realize just how bad it is out there, right? And that's what the markets would find surprising. As long as we get another pause, I think the markets are going to kind of just continue what they've been doing, which is already downside action. I'll show you those charts here in a moment. The Treasury says it won't have to increase coupon auction sizes for the next several quarters. Now, they're already dumping a huge amount of treasuries on the market, so that's good. But I'm going to show you the U.S. dollar versus Japan currency pairing. That's already sending a signal. And the market volatility isn't what it used to be, but still packs a punch. So we're starting to see it. Like I said, the markets are back up so far this morning, but we've seen this going into the Fed interest rate decisions before we get a sell-off. We got one strategist predicting a big rally. The investors want a Fed rate cut, but not a Wednesday surprise. Basically, as I was saying, they want a Fed rate cut, but not this meeting, not quite yet, but September is the guarantee, right? The guaranteed interest rate cut in September. Don't give us to it yet. That would signal panic. That would signal surprise. And that would signal worries for the markets that the Fed is, it's already bad enough. There's already enough blood in the streets. We need to cut now. That would be bad for markets. Now, the jobs are now a big focus for the Fed. These 6 charts tell the story. As we've been highlighting, we've been in a jobs recession since the Q3 of 2023. Nvidia back up today, like I said, green candle, but we're already in a bear market. Sorry, let me show you the chart here. Already in a bear market, down 27%. The bubble has already popped. Today's little green candle, is it going to last? Well, based off this interest rate decision, and I think the market's already kind of, just having a little bit of a relief rally today, but I expect the sell-off to continue after we don't get a cut. Tesla, already down 20%. See, these stocks have already fallen off significantly. Let's take a look at our indexes. DXY back down right now. The lows today were already below 104, back up here, but a red day for the DXY. We'll continue to watch it. The NASDAQ 100, the same thing, a little green candle today, but already down almost 10% so far. S&P 500, already down 5% so far. Off the most recent highs, the correction that we already started last week. Now, today we get a little bit of a bump. Will it last? This could easily flip the other way. Dow Jones a little bit stronger of a recovery, but it also has bounced almost 4% off the top. We'll continue to watch it. Let's take a look at gold. The gold back up here today. Silver back up today, $28 and $2,400 for gold. So both gold and silver rallying today. We'll continue to watch that. Now oil spiking today as well. Back up to 77. It's going to be interesting to watch. We are an hour away from the Fed interest rate decision. Now, Russian market says this. I'm old enough to remember that if the USD Japanese yen pairing does this, there will be a stock market crash. And this is the Japanese dollar gaining against the US dollar. Here's your chart right here. I'll show you it in real time as well. Let's go to our USD Japanese pairing right here. Here you go. And we did have to get a little bit of currency intervention up here. And then the Japanese central bank actually raised rates for the second time in the most recent history, back up another 25 basis points. So 0.25%. Not much, but they are now raising rates, which is strengthening the Japanese yen versus a dollar, where our Fed is set to give us another pause. Okay, we'll continue to watch you guys an update on this one. Here's where we're at in the timeline, believe it or not. We have Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Well, we'll see if he's the president after this election actually finally concludes. There's some challenging going on here. But now we have him challenging Elon Musk to fight on national television. Elon Musk responds, accepting the challenge from Venezuela's Maduro to fight on national TV, saying he will chicken out. This is where we're at in our simulation, timeline, reality, call it whatever you want. We have the president of Venezuela challenging Elon Musk to a fight on national television. Now, are we going to get to that point? I don't think so. But this is where we're at. Now, as far as the real battle goes, sources close to Hezbollah say the body of their top commander has been killed and found in an Israeli strike. So, Israeli striking it. We talking yesterday about how they got one of the commanders of Hamas. This is one of the top generals, commanders of Hezbollah. And we are looking for this to ramp up and escalate from here as the first delivery of F-16 fighter jets from NATO allies has arrived in Ukraine. So on all of these war fronts, it's picking up. On all of these war fronts, it's continuing to accelerate. It's not dying off. It's not slowing down. President Trump says that he would bring peace in one day, but as far as Israel goes, that situation over there is, I think a lot more complex. Although Trump says he can bring an end to the war in Ukraine in a day, I don't think that one's going to calm down anytime soon. And so we're going to have to continue to watch this and how it's going to impact our markets. The problem being is that you're seeing these NATO countries are trying to find money and aid and weapons to send over there, the first arrival of F-16 jets. But the problem is they're all going broke and bust in the process. Now, don't take it from me. The government over there in the UK, Great Britain, said it themselves that they're broke and broke in. Right? The government's broke. The central bank's broke. I'm going to show you this data point right here. But they also admit that they're broken as far as what's taking place on the ground in the social unrest. The UK government transferred nearly $45 billion to the Bank of England to cover its losses from the past year. Read that again. Spooky hours have arrived. $45 billion from the government to the central bank to cover their losses. The US government and our Fed, we have $1 trillion of losses and already $1 trillion of unrealized losses, with $100 billion of realized losses so far in the past year. This is only growing. This is a problem that's facing many central banks in the West at a time when we're still trying to find, like I said, military weapons, aid, and money to send to fight these battles. We're getting spread thin. We're already broke. We're already broken. What's happening on the ground with the social unrest. And we're going to have to continue to watch this situation because we know what their only solution is, which is turning that money printer back on, which is the UK government transferring $45 billion to the central bank. Not a good situation. Now, like I said, the Bank of Japan has just raised interest rates for the second time in nearly 2 decades. I couldn't remember how exactly long it had been, but in the second time in nearly 2 decades, raising it 25 basis points, 0.25%. The show has started. And like we said, in previous times where we've seen the Japanese yen strengthen against the US dollar and this carry trade that's been talked about starting to play out. And their stock market has dropped off, but their dollar, the yen, strengthening against our dollar, and it's starting to break our treasury markets. This is the longest yield curve inversion that we've had ever in history. The longest yield curve inversion in history, and nearly every time it's led to a recession. Getting spicy out there. Now, in regards to a little policy update from Trump, says he wants to get rid of taxes on Social Security checks. He just won the senior vote, according to DC Drano. Now he's got the crypto vote. Now he's going to get the Social Security vote, the seniors, saying that seniors should not pay taxes on their Social Security. Now, as I said, the greatest transfer of wealth in world history will continue under the second Trump term, as he's going to drop taxes, drop regulation. He wants to eliminate taxes on tips. Now he wants to eliminate taxes on Social Security checks. Folks, saying that he wants to become a Bitcoin hodler. I just dropped the whiteboard session this morning talking about why XRP is a better asset to add as a strategic reserve than Bitcoin. Someone please send that video to Trump so he can get tapped in on XRP. Oh, wait, we already know that there's been some conversations with that White House administration and Ripple, don't we? We already know about those ones, don't we? Now, as far as the deals, El Salvador proposes using cryptocurrency for trade settlements with Russia. This is following up on the news yesterday that Russia wants to start using crypto, and they've actually passed a law in their parliament to actually allow companies and institutions and businesses to start using crypto for international trade. They also they also should get my whiteboard video on why XRP is a great strategic reserve asset for them to add as a reserve store of value, but then the ability to also get that utility bridge neutral currency that is so needed at a time when El Salvador wants to do a deal, Russia wants to do a deal, dozens of countries want to join BRICS. BRICS is now set to, become dozens upon dozens of countries formally agreeing, but we have dozens upon dozens of other countries outside of BRICS that are already dropping the US dollar. We have countries where they are jailing you for using the US dollar. And this is why the US government has put their blinders on when it comes to Tether, despite it being called a deceptive and fraudulent scheme by the New York Attorney General, despite it lack of reserves being shown, shady audit firms being shown, all sorts of manipulation and schemes being shown. They've allowed Tether to go because why? Just like Donald Trump said in his speech at Bitcoin Nashville, US dollar stablecoins is how we increase dominance of the US dollar around the world. Very simple. And this is why they've allowed Tether to do what they've done. Tether's Q2 2024 attestation reveals that they hold $4.7 billion of Bitcoin. Now, we've talked about how Tether has been one of the main tools to prop up Bitcoin. Here's some more proof for you. They also announced a new all-time high in direct and indirect U.S. Treasury holdings at $97.6 billion, surpassing Germany, the UAE, and Australia. This is why the U.S. government has allowed Tether to do what they've done. This is why Bitcoin has been propped up to the levels that it has. It's all one big club. We ain't in it, but we're coming for it. And now we're being invited. See, this is what's so interesting is although it would seem as if the U.S. government's working against Ripple and XRP and they've came after us, the damages are massive. But on the back end, Ripple's already been in the White House, the previous one and this one. Ripple's already pulling the 43rd Treasurer of the United States. Ripple's already bringing on Ken Kurson. The ties are already there. And now Brad Garlinghouse is getting called to the round table, as we've been talking about, while Tether, they don't have a seat at the table. Ripple and Circle do, from Ashley Prosper. Great reminder of what just took place right here. This is the White House round table. Ro Khanna putting it together. Politicians from both sides of the aisle arriving. Ripple and Circle have a seat at the table, but Tether does not. Now, I find it interesting, too, on the same day that this news comes out of how much money Tether has been making, billions upon billions of dollars, on the same day, David Schwartz drops David Schwartz and Ripple, they dropped their updated podcast called Block Stars, which if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys go find this podcast. They also have dropped it on their YouTube channel as well. But I like this podcast. It's great. Great sessions that David Schwartz has hosted. David Schwartz hosts these podcasts. They're called Block Stars. And in this one today, they drop an episode with the president of Ripple, Monica Long, exploring Ripple's new stablecoin, RLUSD, bringing stablecoin liquidity onto the DEX and talking about the advantages that this Ripple stablecoin is going to have. Now, in a separate video, I'm going to go over this podcast. It's a 20-minute segment, and so I'm going to go over the best parts of it and summarize it. But I wanted to just share with you guys here how we're starting to see Ripple is coming. And Tether, they've been making all sorts of money. What we see right here is $5.2 billion of profit in the first half of 2024. So they got $5 billion of profit in the first half, holding $98 billion in treasury, and holding another $4 billion, $5 billion in Bitcoin. So this is the business model. Ripple's now coming for it. Ripple's been invited to the table. Trump just told us that stablecoins is the key to expanding US dollar dominance. This is why in this morning's whiteboard video, I can, very confidently say that I believe that XRP, along with the Ripple partnership, would be a better strategic partnership with Ripple and a better strategic asset with XRP than that of Tether and USDT. Now, will they allow USDT to continue expanding and growing? It looks like they are. They're allowing all this, even though there's all sorts of shady stuff. We don't have proof of reserves. According to them, they got 98 billion in treasuries. They got, Bitcoin. They got profit. Will this be the case forever? I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath. But at the end of the day, the bottom line here is that I think that we have been underestimating how big of a deal this Ripple stablecoin is going to be for profit directly to Ripple and for liquidity to the XRP ledger DEX. This is so important. Along with expanding utility, more issuers arriving, Ripple's going to set the standard for issuing stablecoins. Think of gold-backed stablecoins. Think of silver and other commodity backed assets on the XRP ledger. Ripple's going to set the standard, and they also have the place to do the custody, which would be standard custody and trust. This is where Ripple actually has a competitive advantage over Tether, where Tether has to rely on other partnerships to actually hold those treasuries. Ripple's going to be able to hold them in-house. Another competitive advantage for Ripple. Another competitive advantage for XRP. Lots of liquidity going to be coming in. This is massive for the XRP ledger. This is massive for Ripple's business and their balance sheet. And I suspect that we're going to start to see their treasuries on balance sheet grow significantly and their profit grow significantly. And this is going to be so important because the main source of revenue for Ripple has been selling XRP. That's now going to change. An additional revenue flow and cash flow stream is going to come through this Ripple stablecoin, and the amount of money that they're going to be making off that is going to be massive. With that being said, we're going to watch what this Fed interest rate decision does to the markets. I'll be updating you guys later today, so make sure you guys have subscribed, hit that notification bell, and if you appreciate my updates, if you could like this video, share it out far and wide. Everything is at ZachRector.com as far as community resources, and I really do appreciate your support. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.